There's a big shakeup at the University of Oklahoma. The right-hand man is out. Should we feel good? Should we feel bad? Is this panic city for Oklahoma? Is it nothing at all? On tonight's episode of Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It's Locked On Sooners, your team every single day. And it's brought to us tonight by FanDuel Sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/Locked On, where you can get signed up. Well, chances are you are well aware if you're an Oklahoma fan, but in case you're not, the breaking news from the last couple of days, a shocker, a bombshell, none of us saw this coming piece of news with Thad Turnipseed. Thad Turnipseed, the right-hand man of Brent Venables, is out at the University of Oklahoma after, just 18 months on the job. So how should we feel about this? What does this mean for Oklahoma? I'm not here to tell you that this is just some big nothing burger, but I'm also not here to tell you that I think that it's panic city for OU. I'm sort of mixed on it, which I kind of get the impression that's how a lot of Oklahoma fans feel about that. There's different factions, the responses of how Oklahoma fans feel, which group you fit in. There's the group, and there's the group right at the top that says, okay, yes, this was Brent Venables' right-hand man, so this is serious news at the University of Oklahoma. There's others that feel like, hey, Thad Turnipseed brought in to do a job, and his job was to, for Brent Venables, for Oklahoma, put a plan in place for facility upgrades, and they feel like, hey, $175 million football facility, all-in-one football mothership, operations football facility. It got approved by the Board of Regents earlier this year. Mission accomplished for Thad Turnipseed. So you're probably in one of the two camps, or you're in the camp that, yeah, maybe there's a little bit something to it, but I don't think it's worth a big uproar about for Oklahoma. So which camp should you be in? I don't know that we have the definite answer to all of that right now. I would say for those that feel like Thad got his job done and he wants to spend more time with family, that's kind of all we've seen or heard so far. That's one of the fascinating angles to this for me. Think back to Oklahoma and its Big 12 schedule, its final Big 12 schedule in this Big 12 conference in 2023. Didn't see a big social media announcement from the University of Oklahoma, did we? Some bad blood, we know, between Oklahoma and the Big 12 conference on both sides. More so, I think, on the Big 12 than Oklahoma's side. But when the Big 12 conference makes a conscious decision in highlights and so on and so forth to not feature the University of Oklahoma and make it pretty well known that at every left or right turn, they're not going to do anything positive for OU, guess what happens? You get your schedule and you don't make a big deal about it on social media. SEC announcement, a much different story for the University of Oklahoma. That was a big media rollout for Oklahoma. So I'm putting a little bit of stock, I guess is what I'm saying to you, into the fact that, don't you just think it's a little weird that all of this comes down just before the end of Thursday night? And it's a terrific report. I should give credit where credit's due to Carrie Murdoch of Sooner Scoop, who broke the story, had this quote about Thad Turnipseed, the executive director of football administration, who has left Oklahoma. He confirmed the report. Here was what an official told Sooner Scoop and Carrie Murdoch. Quote, Thad Turnipseed is no longer employed at the university. He has notified Coach Venables that he intends to spend more time with his family, end quote. I do believe that Thad Turnipseed wants to watch his son play football. Lee Turnipseed, who, by the way, assuming that the Turnipseed family stays in Norman, his son's in a heated quarterback battle to be the starting quarterback at Norman North. Really good athlete, really good football player. I'm not totally convinced right here, right now, that this is a Thad Turnipseed is stepping away to spend more time with family. I'm sure that once sides, if there was some disagreements along the way of what this $175 million facility would look like, or if there was, we want it to be on Thad Turnipseed's side, more than just a $175 million facility, if we want it to be bigger and grander and larger than that, I think that, sure, along the way here, maybe there was some butting of heads between the OU athletic department and Thad Turnipseed. So I don't take this totally at face value that this is just Thad Turnipseed. I want to go spend more time with my family. I'm not buying that portion of it at all. It was too unusual. And the fact that the University of Oklahoma has this long not put out its own statement thanking Thad and announcing this departure, that instead, I'm looking at a story right now from footballscoop.com, and Thad Turnipseed's his name's been removed from OU's online directory. So there's no mystery. He is out as the executive director of football administration. Yes, it sounds like, at least from the tea leaves we've gathered so far, of his own accord, but probably not without some friction in some way, shape, or form. So that brings me to the biggest question in all of this. How should you feel about it? Should you feel good? Should you feel bad? Is this a big nothing burger? I don't think it's a big nothing burger. I do think there's something to it. I'm not saying hit the panic button, because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think Thad Turnipseed, great at what he did, right? The architectural guru for Alabama and Nick Saban en route to their dynasty and their dynastic run, the architect for Dabo Swinney and for Clemson and for Brent Venables at Clemson and their dynastic run. And you were hoping at the University of Oklahoma, the architect of this new and great and state-of-the-art, these facilities that when Thad Turnipseed arrived and when Brent Venables arrived, yeah, the South End Zone project, you did a great job, but you're missing X, Y, Z. So here's someone that was expected to be a part for all of this. He doesn't wind up being a part for all of it. It's only a year and a half. It was unusual the way it went down. And the fact that he has that type of track record and the University of Oklahoma fails to put out a statement, again, I think tells me that there was, to some degree, whether it's just you want to chalk it up to massive surprise or some level of friction. And I do think it's a little bit of the latter here with that Turnipseed in Oklahoma. The fact that OU has waited so long to put out a statement tells me that there's something going on here. Now, how does Brent Venables feel about it? I think that's the most important piece of all of this. Is Brent Venables upset by it? This is the right-hand man. This is somebody that Brent Venables trusted greatly to come to the University of Oklahoma. This is someone that Brent Venables said, hey, I've got to have Thad here with me. He knows the vision. He knows how to get from point A to point B. So how shaken is Brent Venables by this? Is this the first domino toward, yeah, things aren't really going according to plan in the Brent Venables era? That's, I get it, a healthy leap. But when you're talking about the right-hand man for the head football coach, this is at least a date in late June that if things don't go the way that we hope they're going to go, and I think that they're going to go, I expect Brent Venables in Oklahoma to have a big-time bounce-back season in 2023. And I expect, hopefully this conversation that I'm having with you right now on Locked On Sooners to just be water under, near, around a bridge somewhere down the road. But it's at least notable in that respect for Oklahoma that was this the first sign that outside of 6-7, right? I mean, outside of the win-loss record in 2022, is this the first personnel sign at Oklahoma that, on some level, the administration is questioning the direction of how this Brent Venables thing is going to go? Maybe. And it would be dishonest to do this show and not at least address that or bring that question to the table. But from a wow, that was a bombshell subject, to more positive news for the University of Oklahoma. Let's spread some positivity from the negativity or the shock of Thad Turnipseed to, hey, there's reasons to be optimistic for Oklahoma coming your way in just a moment. First, let me tell you, FanDuel.com/locked on. That is FanDuel.com/locked on, where you can get hooked up over at FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball over at FanDuel. Get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20. You'll land $200 back in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting on everything from the money line to over-unders to who you think is going to be the first to home run. All those fun little prop bets. Yeah, you can get down on the action. FanDuel.com/locked on. And of course, they've got their easy to use, safe, secure app. Plus, when you win, you get paid straight away. You don't have to wait around. Nobody wants to wait for that. Give me my cash, baby. Right here, right now, you get paid instantly. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get up to $200 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com/locked on. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. We got commit season back in full swing, ladies and gentlemen. And actually, we're playing a little bit of catch up this week with John on vacation. And frankly, myself just needing a little bit of a breath of fresh air throughout part of this week till we get here into the month of July. I let a couple of news and notes kind of slide by this week, but we're playing catch up, baby, in a big way. And we're hitting the hot and heavy news right here, right now. Locked On Sooners, your team every single day. Oklahoma's got another wide receiver commit in the 2024 class, and it's a name that we had speculated. It's a name that we talked quite a bit about, and he is a talented addition for Oklahoma in this class. Ivan Carrion, former Texas Tech commit, by the way, to one Emmett Jones, Oklahoma's wide receivers coach. Actually, interestingly enough, I was reading Parker Thune's story over at OU Insider before started taping the show this evening. 7 months to the day. 7 months to the day. Interestingly enough, crazily enough, that couldn't have been planned. Maybe it was planned, right? I don't know. But it's sort of a fascinating deal. 7 months to the day that Ivan Carrion had committed to Emmett Jones with Texas Tech. Well, obviously he decommits, and now he's committed to the Oklahoma Sooners. He joins a group of wide receivers now for Oklahoma in this 2024 class that features Zion Kearney, which I guess, for me, you probably say Ivan Carrion and Kearney, at least from just the 4-star rating, the recruiting rankings in general. Those are the headliners in this class, at least on paper. And maybe Kearney is still that number one overall guy in this class. But so you've got Ivan Carrion, you've got Kearney, you've got KJ Daniels, and you've got Dozie Ezukama now in this class for Oklahoma. A little bit more on Ivan Carrion. He's out of Odessa in Texas, 6'6", $196. So this is a big-bodied receiver for sure. The numbers last season, 1,168 yards, 21 total touchdowns, and really everywhere you look across the board, 4-star kid. 4-star on 24/7 Sports, 4-star on Rivals, 4-star ESPN, 4-star on 3. So a definite consensus 4-star in Ivan Carrion. And here's a little bit from Gabe Brooks, who is the national scouting analyst for 24/7 Sports, just because he's probably as qualified or much more qualified to break down game tape than myself. Here's what Gabe Brooks said about Ivan Carrion and what type of receiver that Carrion is. He says he's a jumbo outside receiver with the frame potential to potentially down the road become a flex tight end. I don't think that's Oklahoma's plan. Jumping in here, guys. I don't think that's Oklahoma's plan for Carrion, but hey, that according to Brooks is a possibility. Okay, here's the rest of what Brooks has to say. Elite height. That's obvious at 6'6". Big catch radius. That's obvious at 6'6". And generally a hands catcher. So what does that mean? It means, hey, not waiting for the football to come into the body, going to go attack the football, which, hey, you love that from a wide receiver. You want every wide receiver to go be somebody that catches with their hands. Highly productive in volume. Again, we told you 51 grabs, over 1,100 yards, a big play punch across his sophomore and junior seasons. They say often wins with physical traits, but also knows how to position himself in contested jump ball situations before the football arrives. Processes defensive back leverage, finds ways to beat it, builds above average top speed thanks to a long stride, fluid mover with loose movement patterns, better run after the catch athleticism than expected relative to the long frame build. So yeah, you see a lot of those skills for Kerryon. Looks like a natural runner after the catch. Again, I like what Brooks is touching on there too. I like the ability to, with a 6'6" frame, go up, high point the football, box guys out, use that length athleticism to, again, go create windows to go catch the football, to use that big catch radius. And then as you think about Oklahoma's class, probably a lot of people are making this takeaway, but Zion Kearney, here's my take on it. Zion Kearney, to me, you flip on the tape, and I've got it jotted down in my notes. He's my do a little bit of everything guy in this class for Oklahoma. KJ Daniels, we know, a smaller frame, big speedster. So he's your gas it up guy in this class. He's your speedster in this class. And then Dozie Ezekama, he's pretty polished. Nice route runner, has the NFL pedigree. Remember, his brother is a Miami Dolphin. So you've got, in this class, a little bit of everything guy up top in the highest rated in Zion Kearney. You've got KJ Daniels, who's my give me speed in bunches in this class. And you've got Dozie Ezekama, who's my Mr. NFL pedigree. And though I don't think Kerryon is just this for Oklahoma, I will officially dub him I'm going to go high point the football guy in this class with the 6'6" frame. So all of that to say that I think Oklahoma's got a nice variety of wide receivers in this class. And all of a sudden, I know, and I'm not going to sit here and say that Bryant Wesco is not a miss for Oklahoma. It's obviously somebody you'd like to have in this class for Oklahoma, but the contingency plans, I think, have been good for Oklahoma in this class. And I like what Emmett Jones has done. Obviously, he already had the relationship with Zion, already had the relationship with Ivan Kerryon and went and used said relationship to go ahead and earn the flip and the commitment for Oklahoma. So nice little mix of different wide receivers in this class for OU. And all of a sudden you've got 4 in the class for OU. And for the Sooners in this class, you might be wondering, okay, well, where is Oklahoma now? They've got 11 commits and a couple of names that we really haven't touched on yet. And we'll do this, by the way, coming up in our next episode of Locked On Sooners. So you want to tune in tomorrow for that. Xavier Robinson, a running back recently committing to Oklahoma. Wyatt Gilmore, an edge rusher out of Minnesota, committing to Oklahoma. So that's sort of the around the horn other news in the recruiting sphere for OU. So now all of a sudden you look at it, and OU's got 11 commits in this class. I'm just looking at 24/7 Sports' team rankings. There's, I'm sure, other rankings. I know there's other rankings out there from Rivals and On3, ESPN, you name it. I just don't have those rankings sitting right in front of me right now. And by a creature of habit, I'm probably most used to looking at 24/7 Sports' composite rankings. So if you're curious where the 11 commits total brings OU to right now in the team rankings, 32nd. So you're out from, mid 50s, 60s, whatever. You're climbing the board, chipping away in those team recruiting rankings. And we knew that was going to be the case for Oklahoma. We've been singing the positive praises on the recruiting front that, hey, nobody panic. Champ U Barbecue's coming, baby. Champ U Barbecue's going to happen. And then afterwards, domino, domino, domino. And they're going to be positive. And recruiting momentum was really going to pick up once we hit the summer. And lo and behold, baby, no big deal. No reason to freak out. The commitments are starting for Oklahoma. And again, you got a nice flip right here in Ivan Kerryon for Oklahoma. So skill positions, I've said it. I'm not going to worry about skill positions at the University of Oklahoma until it's proven that I need to be panicky about skill positions at the University of Oklahoma. And I say that talking most specifically skill positions offensively for OU, not necessarily corner safety. We know that there's been work to do there for Oklahoma, whether that's transfer portal, whether that's in-house development, and whether that's on the recruiting front. I think Oklahoma's improving there, but when I say skill guys, I'm talking running backs, I'm talking wide receivers, I'm talking tight ends, where all of a sudden you've got all of those wide receiver names that we're talking about. You got one running back on the board in Xavier Robinson. And oh, by the way, again, we'll talk about it in our next episode of Locked On Sooners, but again, trending for a couple of other running backs in this class as well. Okay, in closing, the latest of the Colin Cowherd gate, right? Oklahoma's going to be Nebraska. And how dare we give Colin Cowherd any more mention on this or any other platform? But hey, content gives, and content we shall respond to. Plus, when the man himself, Bob Stoops, sounds off, well, we share Bob Stoops sounding off. So just to recap very briefly here, not to spend a world of time on this with Colin Cowherd, because Colin Cowherd does not deserve all of Oklahoma's time. But just so we know how terribly wrong Colin Cowherd is, the Cliff Notes version, Colin Cowherd, why Oklahoma will be Nebraska when they go to the SEC. Tired trope, we've heard it, but here was the rationale for Cowherd. Number one, got the head coach wrong. Too early, Colin, to say that about Brent Venables. Number two, they're moving to a better conference. Okay, I'm with you on that with the SEC, but there's reasons to push back on why this is some big negative for Oklahoma. And number three, you don't have a great state to recruit to in Oklahoma, just like Nebraska. So those were Cowherd's rationales for why Oklahoma's destined to be the next Nebraska in conference realignment. Bob Stoops joined the ref, and this is courtesy of the ref. And Bob Stoops said, enough of that nonsense, Colin.
Those people are, aren't, thinking properly. Where's Nebraska located? I heard Colin Cowherd talking about it because of recruiting. And he said, well, Oklahoma in-state, we only signed 3 or 4 guys. Well, we're not just Oklahoma. All the way down into Dallas is home territory for us, as much as it is anybody else. And that's what they're not taking into account. Nebraska geographically is removed, a good ways from any real strong, fertile recruiting area. We're not. And that's a big difference. And, we fit in the SEC perfectly, and I believe it's going to help us recruit. And, I believe we'll handle it just fine. And you can't compare it to it's the off season. They're just filling up airtime.
Thank you. That's really what it boils down to. Just Colin Cowherd filling up a little airtime. Bob Stoops. No surprise. Bob Stoops swing, knocks it out of the park, home run. He's totally right. The recruiting situations are not anywhere comparable between Oklahoma and Nebraska because of Oklahoma's ties to the DFW Metro. Dallas ain't going out of style, ladies and gentlemen. And Oklahoma has as much residency in Dallas as Texas A&M, as anybody in college football. That's not changing. And oh, by the way, I think Oklahoma's got a nice little sway in Houston and you name it across the state of Texas. But even then, whether it's Texas and what that adds to your recruiting grounds, Oklahoma, I think, though, at times we pine for better. We pine for more in state for Oklahoma, and we don't understand why blue chip guys don't always stay and go to OU. Generally speaking, I think Oklahoma and this staff, Brent Venables and his staff, I think they put a great emphasis on the state of Oklahoma. And if you want to say that the state of Oklahoma doesn't have very much talent, Colin Cowherd, that's all fine, well, and good. But there are some nice players that come out of the state of Oklahoma. And generally speaking, I think OU's doing a good job of landing said players in the state of Oklahoma. But beyond that, hey, this is a national recruiting program in OU. Though, yes, a nice lion's share of it will come from Oklahoma, will come from that Dallas, Fort Worth, and Metro, and just the state of Texas in general. But beyond that, guess what? The doors to the Southeast, they have swung wide open, baby. And after 2023 goes well for Oklahoma, and hopefully an inaugural season 2024 in the SEC after that, Brent Venables, this group of coaches, this staff that he's put together, and just Brent in general, because of his time in Clemson, at Clemson, he recruits the East Coast well. He has ties to coaches in the Southeast, and Oklahoma is opening up the Southeast based on this move to the SEC. And, oh, by the way, that nasty, they don't play defense in the Big 12 and all that nonsense we had to listen to for years and years and years in the Big 12 as the SEC made this meteoric rise in terms of national championships, et cetera, that's gone. That little trump card, that wild card that SEC schools had to play over Oklahoma or could hang over Oklahoma's head, it's gone. So Oklahoma, just like they did in the last recruiting cycle where they signed the number 4 overall class, this will be the norm for Oklahoma. And, oh, by the way, just for the record's sake here, if we're picking on Nebraska, which, hey, every once in a while, it's okay to pick on Nebraska a little bit, though we generally speaking, I think, are nice to our neighbors for the most part up north and remember fondly some of the battles of old versus the Huskers. Let me just point this out, too. While Nebraska certainly had its well-documented struggles, Nebraska right now, if this is the program that Colin Cowherd says can't recruit whatsoever and they, worried about the state of Nebraska and what's there and this and that, I got news for you. Right now, Nebraska, number 14 overall class, by the way, in this 2024 recruiting cycle. I don't think they're going to finish there. They've only got the 4 blue chip commits, but this idea that all of a sudden Nebraska can't recruit at all, Matt Rule is coming in and turning that whole idea upside down anyways, but that's neither here nor there. Oklahoma isn't Nebraska. Oklahoma's not about to be Nebraska when they go to the SEC, and everybody in the SEC, I think, is about to learn that in short order. But between now and then, let's hope it's a great year in 2023 in the Big 12, which there's some interesting news in the Big 12. One more reason why it's good news that Oklahoma's getting out of the conference. We'll share that with you maybe in the next episode of Locked On Sooners. And then we got 2 commits. We still got to tell you about a bunch in Oklahoma football that we got to dive into and get you caught up on this week on Locked On Sooners. And for everybody out there, if you're traveling, getting around, just want to wish you a very happy, a very safe 4th of July. Xavier Robinson, though, Wyatt Gilmore, though, a couple of commits we got to talk about here on Locked On Sooners. From a partner, John Williams, who, oh, by the way, is vacationing. He'll be back before we know it. I'm Josh Elmer. Until next time, Boomer Sooner, everybody.